it's been brewing a little longer, so hundreds and hundreds, we're not sure. On this particular machine, we've been brewing 10 or 12 years, a few times a year. Custom made. My father-in-law and I made this out of Humvee parts. Caterpillar air filter cover and stainless steel sheet metal, all stainless.
Funky pockets.
So we should be able to boil about 45 gallons.
So these only have
25 gallons finished, which with like 5 days stainless steel which is about 10 cases. So we're making about 10 cases, about 240 bottles.
and you can actually pump that roll.
This is what we call a liquor pot. The liquor pot is a little bit misnamed because it just has fresh water in it. Now today we have a little more than 15 gallons because we put some of the wort in it, so it's a little yellow for obscure reasons I won't go into, and we had too much. So this is hot right now. You can see we're at about 172 degrees here. We're getting ready to mix that.
Was he modulating it? What's the window temperature you want?
So we're going to want to go above 170, and the reason is, so brewing is a fusion of physics, biology, chemistry, right, and a little bit of mechanics here.
It was all magically discovered before these.
Right. Well,
And they were always put life work.
And you gotta wonder how much of a lot of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, the Germans have a law to describe the ingredients that are allowed to be put in beer. They have like 30. Yeah, and they forgot. They didn't really understand yeast back then. It was it's a mandatory ingredient.
That's the way they make a lot of sourdough bread.
Exactly. They go from the start.
So in Belgium they have a type of beer that they make by putting it open in the attic, up in the attic. What is that called again? Cheers to one of the styles.
I like it more.
Church German. Cherry.
The monkeys are actually big fruit.
That's what gives everybody a regional advantage.
Yeah.
You know, with the natural yeast.
It turns out the pH of the water matters.
Yeast is the biggest flavor component. So this is just hot water. It's gravity fed. You can see the plumbing here, little valves. And over here is our sparging arm. This is a sprinkler we built out of welding rods, stainless steel tubing. It's drilled, so these holes are drilled just offset all the way around it so that it'll spin, right? It's got a welding rod holding it together to make the bearing, and it sits over the top of this pot. Inside this pot, this one's called our mash tun, and I'll let you peek under here. In the mash tun is 60 pounds of grain right now that we crushed with that grinder that's sitting on top of that little bitty bench there. So we crush all that grain, and you can smell it. It smells like greatness.
Smells like greatness, yeah.
Yeah, looks like oatmeal. Yep. So this stuff in here, we're keeping at 156 degrees. 156 degrees is magic temperature for the beer we're making. It varies by beer style. So there's two enzymes that are in the grain. The grain is, you have the husk, then you have the oils and stuff, and then you have the starch. We're interested in the starch, and the starch is like metabolically a step away from sugar, right? But it takes two enzymes, beta amylase and alpha amylase. Beta amylase and alpha amylase work together. One of them snips the starches into pieces, and the other one converts them to sugar. So there's an action going on here, and what we're looking for is a balance between those, depending on the style of beer. If you snip them into smaller pieces, mostly, then you get more sugar and more conversion. If you leave them longer, you get a thicker, fuller-bodied beer with less conversion. So the drier beer you want, more alcohol. Like if you're Anheuser-Busch, you want to make as much alcohol as possible out of there because you're going to water it down, freeze it, and all kinds of stupid shit. If you're making a nice Guinness or a Murphy Stout or something like that, you want less of that. Stouts usually have less alcohol, but they have kind of a thick mouthfeel to them. So you don't want as much snipping of your protein chain. Get a little less less alcohol, but you get more mouthfeel and taste, right? We're doing a little something in between, so we've decided to call Whiter Shade of Pale in honor of our Snowden here. It's an IPA. It's going to be very dark red, but it should have a good body and yet be pretty good alcohol, probably over 5%. It'll be more like a 6% kind of beer. 156 is our magic temperature for that because it's the right balance between these two enzymes. That's the biological part.
Just learned over time that temperature?
Yeah, so we've made this one in October, 5 years, 3 years in a row, and we've made it 5 years. It's a beautiful beer. It's going to be a little redder this year for supply chain reasons.
Now, could he did take all this after he's been drinking?
I've been drinking. So right now is the biology part. The first biology step is our enzyme management, and that has to do with how we manage the temperature here. The way we're managing the temperature, you see all these hoses and crap, is we had to heat the water to a specific temperature. We used asparagine on there, and we watered the grain to get it up to speed. So we started out about 174 up here. We've gone to 156 in the grain bed. We were guessing because our grain was colder than we're usual.
Does the ambient matter?
It matters. That's where the guess came in. So our recipe was calculated for the grain to be at 50-something degrees, which is about normal for October. We're growing at the end of November, and we got snow, and it's 30-something. So we went up a couple degrees here. We're pretty close. So if you look here, we're at about 155. And we've been a little hotter, closer to 160. The way we're managing that is down here, we have a little pump and an elaborate system of plumbing that we devised. This is called a RIM system, or recirculating infusion mash system. So this is a mash. The infusion is we're driving water through it. What you see going in here is the wort, or sugar water. If you were to taste that right now, it'd be starting to taste like syrup.
So you don't have any sort of thermostat?
No, we have the thermometer and another thermometer because the temperature will vary across the diameter of the mash tun. A little cooler out here, a little hotter in the middle, right? So we have to. The fact that we're at 155, 154 here probably means we're a little closer to 160. We're hoping the average is about where we want to be, right? There's two kinds of grain.
So you know nothing turns it all the time?
No, we get in and stir it. Yeah. We get in there and stir it. We have two kinds of grain. We have a pale ale malt, and malt is made from barley, and you take the barley and you get it wet and you warm it up until it just gets ready to sprout, which is when all the energy in that seed is converted to starch, and they heat. Yeah. Yep. So we had a giant 60-pound bag of that, and we had 5 pounds of inert malt, which is called crystals, and that's what's adding the red color to it. So this malt, the other 5 pounds was just malt we added for color and flavoring. Doesn't give any sugar to the. Our goal is to make sugar because that's what yeast do.
So what does it mean to be inert?
It doesn't have any enzymes that do conversion, right? So we're waiting right now to be fully converted, and we have a test. When we're fully converted, we'll take and test that with iodine. And iodine is a chemistry very poisonous, right? But it reacts in the presence of starch. So if there's any unconverted starch left, we'll have a purple color. If it's all converted, it'll go brown. It'll stay brown. So when we have full conversion, that means we've gotten all the sugar we're going to get out of this grain, or at least all of the beta amylase and SNP into actual starch from the protein chain we started with, right? That has been converted by alpha into sugar. Then we're done. Then we can't get any more out of the grain. We've got full conversion. At that point, we'll go to the brew pump. And we'll switch that hose over here. We'll pump all the liquid out. We're heating this liquid here, and we'll add more water to it, rinsing the grains over and over and over, which we're getting ready to do here. This guy will fill up, and we'll boil here for an hour, which is where we'll add hops. And we're going to add some stuff called Spanish moss, which grabs any unconverted. So any of the long proteins that we don't want will kind of flocculate out. We'll add hops to it. At this point, you boil the hops at different times during the boil, and that adds bittering to the beer, which offsets the sugary flavor. At the end, we'll add aroma hops, and then we'll go into the 5-gallon carboys over here. We'll go fill 5 of those up. And then we'll add yeast to those once they've cooled down to about 70 degrees, and we'll take it in our basement. They'll sit there for about 6 weeks while they ferment. Yep. And the yeast will convert all that sugar to alcohol. And then we will go out of there into the keg. After 6 weeks, we'll have beer. I've got a 800-pound CO2 tank right here that will put those under pressure, and we'll be ready to go. So a little bit after Christmas, we should be ready to go.